Hey everybody, welcome into a brand new YouTube show we're going to do every single Tuesday. It's going to be the Unfiltered Eagles Mailbag, where you can submit your questions on Twitter, and then me, Andrew DiCecco, maybe Ricky Batalico, we're going to answer them for you right here on this Eagles Mailbag by Unfiltered. So let's start. So first of all, I got to let people behind the curtain a little bit, AD. Dylan McKinnon put these questions together that were submitted by you, the listener. It looks like it's a ransom note or a serial killer who wrote these. I feel like my 6-year-old son writes better than this.
Looks
Dylan.
like the Zodiac wrote that.
So I'll see if I can decipher. It does look like the Zodiac. It does look like the Zodiac. All right, let's start. Number one, the big story of the day. What does Brandon Graham have left to offer? I'm going to start with you, AD. What's he got left to offer at 37 years old?
Well, it remains to be seen. He always wanted to play. There were conversations even before Zadarius Smith joined the Eagles. He tore his tricep late in the season in a game in which I believe was his best of the season. He was making plays against the run. He was pressuring the quarterback. And then he tears it again in the Super Bowl. He's stayed in shape by all estimations, so we'll have to wait and see what version of Brandon Graham we're going to get. But let's not expect him to play 25 or 30 snaps a game. Probably give you, 15 or so snaps thereabouts, and he's going to be a tremendously positive influence in the locker room, help a lot of the younger players, which I think holds its value in itself.
Yeah, definitely from a leadership perspective, from a little bit of a swagger perspective too. We know how much trash talk he loves to do. Like I look at it as a low risk move by the Eagles, because you're not any worse off if for some reason it doesn't work out. It's not like you're giving up anything to get him. I just hope that they don't think this is the only solution on the edge. I still think they're probably missing something and like to see them address it at the trade deadline. But you're right. I mean, if he can give you 15 snaps a game, I mean, even if it's like 10 quality snaps a game, I think it's worth bringing the guy back. And the fact that Vic Fangio, you were down at his press conference this morning, was saying, like, I've been teasing him really dating into the offseason of, like, you sure you want to retire? You sure you want to retire? Like, The fact that Fangio wants him back, to me, that says a lot, because Fangio knows a lot more about defense and personnel than fans do out there. And the fact that Fangio wants him back, I'm willing to trust Vic on this one.
Yeah, and Fangio said we'll see in terms of the impact that he's going to be able to make. And I agree with you, Bill. This should not preclude the Eagles from going external to bring in a reinforcement. They certainly need that, and it sounds like Azeez Ojulari, who suffered a hamstring injury Sunday against the Vikings, won't be available. So the numbers are dwindling there fast at that position.
All right, so let's move on. It looks like the last question may be about Jihaad Campbell at edge, a little tease. But let's go into the next question here submitted by our ransom note. What are the Eagles' options if Cam Jurgens misses time? Now, I'll take this one first, AD. Now, the obvious one would be to do what you did on Sunday, which is have Brett Toth remain at center. I actually threw this out at you when you were walking in the door. Last year in the NFC Championship game, we saw when Jurgens wasn't healthy enough to start that game, they went with Landon Dickerson at center. Mm-hmm. Could there be a situation where this week they go Landon Dickerson at center and Matt Pryor, who struggled at right tackle against the Rams when Lane Johnson went out, but's played a lot of guard in the NFL. Could they see him sliding in the left guard, and now you go Matt Pryor, Dickerson at center with Tyler Steen at right guard, or do you think they stay with Brett Toth?
I think they're going to stay with Brett Toth. Historically, Jeff Stoutland doesn't like to alter multiple positions for continuity purposes, and I think when you look at Matt Pryor, they like to keep him on the right side. That's really where he's worked a lot in training camp, and even when they needed a left guard, they put in Brett Toth. So I think that there's a comfortability there with what Brett provides. He's in his 7th season. He's very well versed in Jeff Stoutland's ideologies and techniques. So, you listen to Nick Sirianni on Monday, and he's doubled down on that and talking about how much confidence they have in Brett Toth. So I think that would be the play, at least in the short term.
Yeah, and then you get the bye week, so maybe you're right. You don't want to change so many positions for one game. But look, that Giants team, even though they blew the lead against the Broncos, we know how good that defensive front can be. So it'll be an interesting test. All right, we'll see how all that plays out. This is kind of flowing along the same lines as the questions about the offensive line. Third question being submitted. Why is the running game struggling so much this season?
So there's a multitude of reasons for that. The offensive line's been really banged up this season. And you and I talked about this, Bill, on the air. A lot was made in the offseason about Saquon Barkley and how touching the ball 482 times, if you're including the playoffs, was going to affect him. But not enough was made about the offensive line and how that attrition was going to affect them on a shortened offseason, no less. And you're seeing it play out right now. Landon Dickerson's been banged up. He's had 3 different injuries. Cam Jurgens had the offseason back surgery, and now he has a knee injury. Jordan Mailata has talked about working through some things. So I think that plays a lot into it. And then there's times where I see Saquon Barkley pressing because the normal size creases that he had to run through last year aren't there. So he's not necessarily taking what's in front of him. And they also need to get a little bit more creative in terms of their personnel groupings. I think they can go a little bit more 11 personnel, bring another wide receiver on the field, spread defenses out a little bit more, and create some more room for Saquon to operate.
Yeah, a lot of good points right there, AD. A lot of good points. Because you're right, we spent so much time this offseason talking about Saquon Barkley and would he be able to repeat the 2,000-yard performance. But you're right, we probably didn't talk enough about what it meant for the offensive line. So that's a really good point. The other good point you made at the end there about, say it again, one more time.
Personnel groupings?
Personnel groupings. Against the Vikings, I thought it was interesting. They tried to go heavy at times, bringing in Fred Johnson as a 6th offensive lineman. And it didn't really work that well because it allowed teams to kind of really load the box.
Converge,
I think you may be right. If they could spread things out a little bit more, maybe that could open up some space. But to your point about Barkley pressing a little bit, he kind of said as much too after the game on Sunday because he said, I got to stop taking so many negative losses on first down. And I think it is because he's not just taking what they're giving him. He's trying to get those big runs. But I still think they're so talented. If the bye week can get here and this offensive line can get a little bit healthy, I think that running game will get going. And now that brings us to our next question. What is the Eagles' identity on offense?
That's a tease because we're going to get into that today on the show.
We are going to get into this on the show because if you listen to Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, they've almost have said, we don't need an identity. Our identity is doing whatever it takes to win. But we also know last year their clear identity was the bully ball that you love to talk about. Mm-hmm. They haven't been able to do that this year. So right now, what is the identity? I think the easy answer is they don't have one. They don't really have an identity offensively.
Yeah, well, we all know what they want to be. Foundationally, they want to be the bullies on the block. They want to dictate how defenses play them. And that hasn't been the case this year. But I don't know that this Eagles team needs an identity per se because they find ways to win in a multitude of ways. And when you have an influx of talent like they have on that side of the ball, you can do that. You are afforded that luxury. So I don't know that you can just slap the identity label on it and keep circling back to it. I don't know that this version of the Philadelphia Eagles needs that per se to be successful.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. And like you said, we're going to talk about that a lot on air today. It's actually the subject of our Twitter poll today. Do they need an identity? We'll see where the masses weigh in on it. All right, last one that got submitted. Is Jihaad Campbell a real answer at edge? Anybody that was listening to Vic Fangio's press conference this morning, Andrew DiCecco asked him about Jihaad Campbell's performance at edge because we saw him play really his first true reps at the position in the NFL this Sunday against the Vikings. I mean, do you look at him as a real answer for that position?
I view him more along the lines of being an inside linebacker. He's playing that out of necessity, and when you have a young player like that, Bill, who's growing into a role, he hasn't played off-ball linebacker all that much in his career, period. They're doing this as a last resort, and now bringing back Brandon Graham maybe alleviates some of that. There were some positive moments. I thought he did a nice job setting the edge, but there were also times where you can see maybe his lack of size really play into it a little bit. Vic Fangio kind of alluded to the fact that, it's new to him, so the more that he does it, the better he's going to get. But I didn't see anything overly, overly emphatic one way or the other. But that's something that they're going to have to continue to explore until they bring in a reinforcement, just because the numbers dictate it.
Yeah, you and I are eye to eye on this one. I was talking about it with Ricky on the air yesterday, that in an ideal world, and I think the Eagles would agree with this, you want to keep Jihaad Campbell at off-ball linebacker. Mm-hmm. I mean, his athleticism, how much the length that he has, his ability to carry an athletic tight end up the seam and pass coverage. Like, there's so many things that he does well that you don't want to kind of stunt the growth he could have at linebacker because the upside is so high. But, yeah, do they continue to do it unless they bring in reinforcements at the trade deadline? Because even Brandon Graham coming back, you still probably are going to have to use Jihaad Campbell. I don't think BG is going to be ready against the Giants, maybe. But even if he is, how many reps is he going to play? And if you're without Ojulari and Nolan Smith's still not ready to come back, I think you may see Jihaad Campbell again against the Giants on Sunday. But I'm hoping after the bye week, maybe, especially after the trade deadline, they can get back to where Jihaad Campbell is just a true off-ball linebacker.
Yeah, and again, you brought up some really good points. He's a young player. He played in just 7 NFL games. He's going to continue to get more comfortable and getting the reps at that position. But I view him, and I have viewed him more as an off-ball linebacker. But we also have to mention very quickly about Nakobe Dean and how well he played.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit easier to move Jihaad Campbell off the edge so you can get your best players on the field. And I don't think enough is made about how critical Nakobe Dean is to that defense.
Yeah, he did look good, and he's a leader, as you've talked about
Big
before
time.
as well. All right, so we're going to do this every single Tuesday. So any questions that you have, make sure you get them in on Twitter. Dylan will always post an update saying, hey, Eagles Mailbag coming up on Tuesday. You can comment underneath of it with all of your questions, and then we'll put it into this weird ransom note that Dylan put together so that we can answer them. But make sure you're like and subscribed, and make sure you're listening to Unfiltered every weekday from 2 to 6. You get AD every Tuesday and Friday on the show. And then you also get Andrew on our morning show. He's now doing some Middays with Marks as well. We're using him everywhere. So make sure you're following along. We'll talk to you soon. What's up, everybody? It's Bill Colarulo from Unfiltered with Ricky Bowe and Bill Colarulo. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we post a ton of content. It's not just what you hear on air. We're posting content all day long. We do some things before the show, after the show, even stuff during the show. So subscribe, like, do whatever you got to do. We got all this content coming to you every single day.